Welcome to Bear Down Ballers. I'm your host, AJ Bramlett. Ryan Wall's back with me, the super producer again for another week. And let's hop right in, man.
Yeah, AJ, it's great to be back. Off a loss. You'll get into that a little bit later with our guest, Ben Davis, today, later on the show. But I wanted to switch it up a little bit today, AJ. We've had a lot of your teammates on. We've had current players. We've talked about their journeys, their careers. But I wanted to talk about yours a little bit and, get our audience to learn more about you. So I just wanted to start off, and you're from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I wanted to just know what made you choose, Arizona, Lute Olson, and brought you to Tucson, many, many years ago.
Yeah, man. I mean, my senior year, I was recruited by a lot of colleges, D1. We had played for, one of the top AAU teams in New Mexico. We had about 5 or 6, D1 guys that came off of that team. And so we were getting highly recruited. And I kind of narrowed it down, to New Mexico, University of New Mexico, the Lobos, or, Arizona. And I was always liked Arizona growing up, always followed their program. I'd actually went to the game when when the Lobos beat Arizona, back in the 80s when Arizona was ranked number 1. And so I had experience there with that. But, really the deciding factor for me, which is, the deciding factor for a lot of guys that we've talked to on this program, was Coach Olson. And, when Coach O, comes into your living room, sits down with your parents, he's going to win that over immediately, so the parents were already bought in. And when he asks you, to come and that he really wants you to come play for him and has a scholarship for you, I mean, in my opinion, that's something you just don't turn down. That's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And so, I committed early, early in my senior year. And, it was interesting because, in New Mexico, everybody wanted me to go to UNM. And, when I chose Arizona, I wasn't the fan favorite anymore, locally for a while. So, which kind of added to, a rivalry, on my AU team. I had one of my other brothers, Kenny Thomas, that, played at University of New Mexico, went to UNM, played the NBA for a lot of years, but we were rivals, in high school in the Albuquerque area. And Kenny was going to UNM and I was going to Arizona. So that kind of made the hype of that rivalry at the high school level, like, really big. And then when it transferred into college, we also got to play each other in college, when he was at UNM as well. So locally in the Albuquerque area, it's kind of, a long story, historic, story here in the basketball community around New Mexico. But, Coach Olson, he was the best, the absolute best. And so, I would never trade my experience. I chose the right place. And, I wear my Wildcat colors every single day and I'm a proud member of the Arizona basketball family. So it was great. It was a good decision.
Yeah, for sure. It was a great decision for you, looking back at it, for sure. But yeah, you started your career, your first year, you didn't get too much playing time. You get your feet wet. But then your second and third year is when you started becoming a major force for the team. And then in your third year is actually when Arizona, won the national championship in '97. I just wanted you to talk about that, your role in the team, and, how you felt that group. A lot of people, JT, and some of your teammates, Bibby, talked about the bond with that team. So yeah, just get into that and what made you guys just a special, special group.
Yeah, talking about kind of my development, my first year, we'll have, Ben Davis on the show later on. I had Ben Davis and Joseph Blair that were my big brothers, kind of taught me the ropes. I didn't play a bunch that year. We had a really good team that, lost right before the Final Four to Kansas. But we were a top 10 team that year. And those guys really taught me the ropes, beat me up, taught me, how to compete at a high level every single time. And then, really helped me develop, even though I didn't play a lot that year, I learned a ton. Gained a ton of knowledge just in practice, throughout that year. And then, my sophomore year and then that team with Mike Bibb and JT and those guys, it was the bond of that team is something that I can't even explain. And I've been on other championship teams, I've been at the high school level, at the European level, I've coached a couple of them at the high school level. They all have similar, traits of, chemistry and guys getting along and all that. But our 97 team just was different, man. We really connected on all levels, totally off the court, all hung out all the time. Everybody got along. We had our dust ups here and there, in practice and, guys battling for playing time and things like that. But overall, we were just a big family, man. And that was, something that Coach Olson's doing. But it was just, I think our personalities meshed really well. And we were all a team of characters. Like everyone was different. There was no two guys that are the same on that team, from JT and, Mike Bibb down to John Ash and Justin Wessel and Jason Stewart, the guys that were, at the end of the bench that year. And so, it was just a special time. It allowed us to really overcome a lot of adversity because during that year, we were up and down that year. We beat some good teams early in the year, beat Utah. That was a top 10 team at the time, beat some really tough teams. But then in the Pac-10, we just, we lost a lot of games because it was a tough conference and we were a young team. But, through all that, we built toughness, we built chemistry, and we built a real belief in our talent. And, even though, a lot of people outside of our circle didn't believe, we had full belief in each other. You could look across the aisle at whoever it was, Eugene Edgerton or Donnell Harris or Bennett Davison or whoever, and you saw your brother there, and you knew that you could go to war with that guy and that you were going to compete until the very last second. And I think that's what allowed us to make that run in 97 through the tournament, knock off Kansas, and who was the number one team that entire year. And then you go ahead to the Final Four through Providence, which was a really tough game, and then with North Carolina and Kentucky, in the final game, and be able to overcome three number one seeds. It was all about energy and positive energy and just toughness.
Yeah, that seems like a common theme at any level when you even think of NBA teams. They all seem like have a special bond, and that's what it's not all because all these teams. There's a lot of teams that are very talented, but it seems like that bond takes it to the next level. But AJ, I wanted you to just tell everybody, like, what was your favorite, if you had to pick one or maybe even two, memories. They don't have to be on the court at Arizona 3 or 4 years, but they could be on the court, maybe a moment, maybe off the court with a teammate or a coach, or just anything that you just really remember. And how about besides the national championship, because we know that was an incredible moment, but something maybe besides that.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite moments, and I'm going to talk with Ben about this a little bit later, but it was my first month of college basketball at U of A, and we were unranked at the time, and we had a really, talented team. And we, first game was against, I think, Long Beach State, and then we in the preseason NIT, and then we had won that game. We went to play at Arkansas, which at that time was like a huge deal. Me growing up as a kid watching, Arkansas play, and they'd been in a national championship picture, a bunch then. But it really sunk into me about why I chose Arizona and what a good decision was. It was when I went to Madison Square Garden in the preseason NIT and played against Michigan, and then played against Allen Iverson, in Georgetown in the final game there. We beat them. We beat them in that. We went from, unranked, similar to this year's team, to like number 3 in the country in like a 2.5 week span. And I just remember being in Times Square, and we were outside the hotel, and Allen Iverson was out there, and Stephon Marbury was also there, and all these guys that you just kind of grew up, playing or like idolizing and looking at and thinking, wow, this is big time. And then you're there, you know what I mean? So like, that's one of my biggest memories of just like, wow, like this is the right decision. This is where I want to be. This is a big time basketball stage. And, that's all, Coach Olson's doing in the program that he built. And then, the other one is just really the relationships, man. And like, games are games. And we had a lot of games, we won at the buzzer, or, we had games where we came back, or losses that stick with you. And, the loss that sticks with me the most for sure is the Utah game, the year after we won the championship. That loss still hurts me till this day, because I felt like that year we were a better team. Like, we were the best team in the country that year by far. And, we just didn't get it done, had a bad game at the wrong time, and, weren't able to get to the Final Four. And that still stings to me for sure till that day, because I thought that we had a good chance to go back to back and be able to do that. But really, it's the relationships with all the guys. Like, and it doesn't matter. Like, we'll talk to Ben later on. Like, Ben, like, these guys are all family. Like, all the guys that I played with, or even that are a little bit outside the years that I played with, that I've known, like they're all family. You can count on them. You know, if you need something professionally, if you need something, you know, as a friend, like they're all there for you. And that's really the special thing I think about Arizona basketball is that it transcends just sport and competition and all that to really like a family. And so, you know, I'm just thankful and lucky that I'm a part of it and really enjoying, you know, doing what I'm doing now and getting to shed some positive light on the program because it definitely deserves it.
Yeah, so after your career, you played 4 years at Arizona, won the national championship in '97. But then after that, you came back for your senior year, and then you got selected by the Cleveland Cavaliers on the second round, 39th overall in the 1999 draft. Just discuss and, talk about your experience getting drafted and how special of a moment that was for you and your family.
Yeah, I mean, it's something, you know, and it's something that you dream about as a kid. And you don't think you're really, you know, able to make it there until the moment where, and I think it was, I don't know, probably my junior, senior year of high school where I was like, I think if I can develop and keep working and, you know, I may have a shot to maybe make it someday, you know what I mean? And that all changed. And that was a lot, you know, learned a lot more once I got to Arizona and really got the blueprint of how to be a professional, how hard you have to work, what you need to learn in order, you know, to be a pro basketball player. And, you know, learned all that through those 4 years from a variety of players, Coach Olson, you know, Coach Phil Johnson at U of A, you know, Coach Rosborough, all those guys. And, you know, I really improved from, you know, my freshman year to my senior year. A lot of people, you know, wouldn't recognize, I don't think, the player that I became my senior year when I first got on campus, you know, at U of A as a freshman. And so, you know, that's a testament to the development that Coach Olson did with all of us, really. And so being able to get to that night, be with your family, and you know, I was hoping that I was going to be, you know, tail end of the first round pick, and still think that I should have been, but you know, being drafted, and the older you get, and the more that you look back at it, being drafted 39th in the world, you know, into the NBA is a great accomplishment. And so, you know, it was something special that, you know, I'll never forget. Absolutely. And, you know, that's when that's on your resume and you've made it there and you get to play in the NBA, you know what I mean? That's a lifelong dream come true.
Yeah, and when you got there, and you played, was it in a game or off the court when you maybe met a player, either on your team or opposing team, when you were like, "Wow, like I really made it here. Like this is amazing," because as you said, as
Yeah.
a kid, that's what every kid dreams of is playing professional sport, the
I
highest
mean,
level.
it was right away because, you know, I played for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and one of my favorite players growing up was Sean Kemp. And Sean Sean Kemp was the big dog on our team during that time. And so when I went into the first practice, and I'm like, wow, you know, there's Sean Kemp, you know what I mean? And the Rain Man is there. And so it was just a special time. And that was just every single game. I mean, when you're a rookie, your eyes are this big, you know what I mean? Every single game you're going out playing against guys that you've seen, you know, on the NBA level for years and years. And getting to experience my, you know, first game I think was in Toronto, and then we played New York as well, you know, in the Garden. Just being there and, you know, getting a chance to experience that, it gives you chills, man. And you know, you just look around and like, wow, like all the hard work you put in, you know, from time you were a kid up through college, you know, high school to college, paid off, and you were able to, you know, check yourself into the NBA game and get some playing time and play. So it was awesome, man.
Yeah, well, so yeah, I just wanted to get your feelings of your thoughts on like how that kind of stint in your basketball and professional life maybe came to an end before you had about an 8 to 9 year, run in European basketball in Spain, Latvia, and been playing there.
Yeah, like the NBA short, you know, for me was a little bit. It was a quick stint. You know, I mean, I played half the year, you know, after being drafted in second round, but you know, they were looking for a more veteran guy at the time, and you know, I was still developing, and I actually thought I was playing the best that I had ever played. You know, up until you know the time that I was released, and I went to the CBA for the second half of that year, and really that was really good for my game. That really helped me develop more as an offensive player, get to be a focal point of the offense and kind of helped me, you know, take a lot of steps in those 2 months that really propelled me into summer league. I went to summer league with the Seattle Supersonics that next summer, played really well there, but then got an offer, you know, for guaranteed money from Spain and going to Forum Valladolid in Spain. And so it was an awesome opportunity. You know, I didn't know anything about Spain at that point. But my agent, at the time, Mark Bartlestein with Priority Sports, said, "Hey, this is a good opportunity for you." I was like, "I'm always up for a challenge," and went there and just loved it. It was an awesome place to be.
Yeah, and how was that? Because that experience, because you grew up in Albuquerque, and then you moved to Tucson, and then you got drafted by the Cavs, and then going to Spain. Just how was all you had some movement, and how was that's bigger than the rest of them going to a whole different country.
Yeah, I mean, it's different. And guys that played overseas, I'll tell you this: like you have to be, pretty strong mentally to to go overseas, especially your first year, because it's just outside of your comfort zone. Like there's nothing normal to you. I spoke a little bit of Spanish at the time from my time growing up in New Mexico, but not much. And so, I had a translator. One of the assistant coaches really translated what the coach was trying to say to me during the games. But the one thing about basketball is you can kind of understand it no matter what. On the court, it's similar in a lot of fashions. And so, but living over there and not being able to communicate a whole bunch, I had my kind of old teammate, John Williams, who played at LSU, played the NBA for a lot of years. John Hopley Williams was kind of my big brother over there, took care of me, taught me the ropes, really helped me through that season. And, we had a really good season. I played for Forum Valladolid, which Arvidas Sabonis used to play for back in the day. So it was a really good basketball club. I was an all-star the first year over there in the ACB, and really just the lifestyle. Once you get used to it and being in another country, it's wonderful. People are nice, really good food, exceptional food, and the basketball was super high level. Like that was Pau Gasol's last year before he went, to the NBA, and he was an amazing player. And there was just so many, high level guys over there that it was the best league outside of the NBA. So you were competing, pretty much every night against the top talent in the world, which was an amazing experience.
Yeah, you wrapped up the last few years of your career in 2000, and finished in 2008. You won a Latvian championship 2007. Just yeah, go through like how you felt in that little last stint of your career in Latvia, and then catch the Arizona Wildcat fans up of before we started this podcast just a few minutes ago, and what you've been up to since you retired from basketball.
Yeah, my time in Latvia was great, man. It was totally different than Spain. Eastern Europe has, it was freezing cold, but the people were extremely nice. The basketball club I played for, ASK Riga, was just great amount of great players. Really high level guys. They had never won, a championship, a Latvian championship, and so it was an exceptional year for me personally. On the basketball court, I was winding down kind of my career. I had some back issues and things like that, but was able to overcome that and play with those guys and get a championship in Latvia, which was awesome. And then came back, and I've been in the States for a long while now, but raising my two sons, Dalen and Drew, over here. They're playing basketball here in New Mexico, and I've been working in the sports media business for a long time now. We work with our local high school association, New Mexico Activities Association, with corporate sponsorships and business development. And then we have our local basketball club, the ABC basketball club here in New Mexico. We train, young kids, try to help kids get the opportunities that I had, which is, go to college on a basketball scholarship and continue your dream of forwarding your career, through the round ball, which has done amazing wonders for a lot of us, over the years, and just teaching kids the right things to do and making sure that they have a path to stay on a positive, path moving forward for their lives. So that's basically it, man. It's just been enjoying life, enjoying basketball, enjoying watching our Arizona Wildcats play, and just living day by day and being, having a positive experience.
Yeah, AJ, your story is quite incredible. You've had a great journey. It's great to do this show with you. And yeah, the current Wildcats hit a little bump in the road. They lost a close one to Tennessee. You'll get into that a little bit more with Ben Davis. But tell us who, I just said it, but give us some more insight and about who's coming up next.
Yeah, man, this is one of my true brothers. I mean, all the guys are brothers, but Ben, was my big brother in Arizona for sure. Big Ben Davis is coming up. One of the very interesting career in basketball across many levels of play, and really going to enjoy this one, man. So Big Ben Davis is up next to Bear Down Ballers. we move on to the next topic, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at BetRivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with BetRivers yet, now's the time because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Play Instant Approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With basketball season tipping off, get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Yes, sir. I'd like to welcome into Bear Down Ballers, my big brother, guy who taught me the ropes, taught me everything I know about the game of basketball. How to be a tough Big Ben Davis in the house. What's happening, man?
Thanks, man. Thanks. Good to be here. Great to be here with you, buddy.
Yeah, man. Good to see you, man.
Good to see your face too, man.
Let's just hop right in, man. You got one of the more, I think, interesting basketball journeys, you know what I'm saying, from high school, through college to pro to all that. So just wanted to jump in and kind of, talk to you first about kind of your Oak Hill days. And, I was thinking, back, like when I was in high school, like I didn't even know about Oak Hill. You know what I'm saying? Like nowadays, everybody knows,
everybody
Oak Hill's big time.
School.
Everybody's come out of there and, gone to the league and all that. But when I was in high school, I didn't even know. So was it the same back then? Like, what was Oak Hill like, academy when you were playing there? How was that?
Yeah, it was the same, but, obviously it was the beginning of everything. And there was a few people for me. Rod Strickland went there. He's got Brian Shorter, Sean Green. They had a lot of players. And it got a lot bigger in the early 90s. I got there, it was 1989. That sounds like 1889. I got there in 1989 at the end of my sophomore year, and I was there for the spring part of my sophomore year through my senior year in 1991. And it's the thing about Oak Hill is a regular high school. It's just a Baptist boarding school, so it's not really a prep school in the sense of having post grads or kids that are too old or all these. So if they don't do that, like I graduated from high school, I was 17. My son just went there. He graduated there a couple years ago. He was 17, and obviously the basketball, with all the attention that basketball got, has grown because there are so many great players on my team. I had Junior Burrow and Corey Alexander was the first round pick. They both played at the University of Virginia and were great players, all ACC, all American type players. But Corey was the first round pick. Junior was the second round pick. And, that was probably the first team at Oak Hill that had multiple guys that went to the NBA.
Right. Yeah, you were, kind of one of the founding members of that, you know what I mean? Which is crazy to think about.
Like yeah, it is. I always look at the pictures of Oak Hill in the gym, and there's all these banners on the wall, jerseys hanging everywhere. None of that was on the wall when I was there. I was like, it was bare walls when we were there. I was like, now it's like a museum. I was like, when I was up there, my son was there. It's like a museum. So, hey, but I'm definitely, I'm obviously proud of my career, just like I'm sure you are. All of us are. But I'm really proud of the stuff I did at Oak Hill because at the time, it hadn't been done at Oak Hill. I was on the first undefeated team. I was on the first team to ever get a share of the national title when I was a junior. And so that was good stuff. And the guy that coached me, Coach Smith, like a father to me, is still there. He's obviously the all-time winning high school coach in America. So it's good, and I'm proud to be a part of that.
So who were your rivals back then? Who y'all battling for the national title back then when you were playing?
Detroit Southwestern had Jalen Rose and Rashawn Leonard and Howard Isley and all those guys. Chicago King. They had Jamie Brandon, Rashard Griffith. You remember him?
Yeah, I remember Rashard. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, big Thomas Hamilton, all those dudes.
Thomas Hamilton,
yeah, and the other prep school at that time was this place called Flint Hill. You remember Flint Hill?
I don't remember that. Yeah.
You remember this? You remember Randolph Childress, right?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
They had Randolph Childress. You remember Vic Serge Zwicker that played at North Carolina?
Of course. Yep.
Yeah, Serge went there. So yeah, it was them. It was a lot of people because we actually we played against Rasheed Wallace's high school team when he was like a sophomore.
Simon Gratz, right?
Yeah,
Simon Gratz?
they had. Yeah, they were really good. They had pros like they had what was the guy that played at Temple too? Aaron McKee.
Aaron
They
McKee,
had a
yeah.
lot of they had a lot of people. Like we played everybody. Like we won everybody. We played a lot of
Big
people.
time, man.
Right?
Big time.
Yeah, you do. Hey, listen, you can't hide. You know what I mean? You're gonna play them every week. So, but it was good. You know, it was a great experience for me because I needed the discipline academically more than anything. And the basketball structure too, because I was from a small place and we had okay coaching, but we didn't have coaching like I got at Oak Hill as far as preparing me for the other stuff that I do in my career.
Right. So I mean, you know, you playing there, and you know, you did your thing obviously at Oak Hill. You were obviously selected as a, you know, to the McDonald's All-American game in 1991. And you know, some of those guys you mentioned were in that game. I think some of the Fab Five guys were in that game. You know, Big Dog Glenn Robinson, I think, was in your game.
Chris Webber,
some dogs. Chris Webber.
Yeah.
Talk about that experience, man. What was that like? Talk about that.
I mean, that was. Hey, listen, you know, we play like you kind of grow up with the dudes in your class. Like especially when you go and play all the AU stuff and go all the basketball camp stuff the way it was when we were younger. You know what I mean? Like now it's changed a lot, so you don't see the same dudes everywhere you go. You know, you kind of play out. But if you were in that top 100 to 125, you kind of seen those dudes all the time. And Glenn Robinson was actually my roommate at Big Dog. He was my roommate at night. You know, and I played in the Olympics Festival, and it was like me and Juwan Howard. It was a lot of us. Chris Webber, like those are all my boys. Like they're still my boys. Like when I see them, you know, it's like we just seen each other yesterday. But that was obviously an incredible experience, you know, because that's kind of the first dream when you're a kid, when you're growing up. You want to make McDonald's, you want to do this stuff, you want to follow all the great players after you, and especially going to Oak Hill is kind of a tradition. Like every year, somebody from Oak Hill is gonna make it. You know, the year before I made it, we had this guy, Anthony Cade, who I still say is one of the 5 best players I've ever seen in my life. You know, even with the guys in the NBA, you know, it was back in the day, you know, it was so many steps to get there. And those steps, you know, kind of, they pushed a lot of dudes to the side. And he was one of those dudes because he was extremely talented, probably the most talented guy I ever seen. He was on my team my junior year at Oak Hill, probably the best, one of the best teams I'd ever been on. He was 6'11", like 225. He was actually Kevin Durant with a better post up. Like that's crazy, huh?
What?
Yeah, he could dribble, he could shoot threes. Dude, I had never seen a 6'11" dude that could dribble and shoot threes when I got there. Hey, listen, I got to Oak Hill. I'm thinking, yeah, man, I'm about to go here. I just left Fort Pierce, Florida. I'm killing everybody. I'm thinking I'm the man of you, 10th grader. I get there, I see this dude every day.
Reality check.
every single day, yeah. They do it every day. Every day I play against him every day. He made it a lot better. No, he definitely made like I would not be the guy I am if I had. I spent an entire summer with him and another guy who's actually one of my best friends, same category you are, and like a brother to me. His name is Wilford Kirkcaldy. He was like 6'10", like 250. And you know, I just came from Oak Hill. You know me, I'm 6'7". Everybody says I'm 6'9", but I'm 6'7". Okay. So,
you were listed 6'9". You were listed 6'9", though. They don't find that out to the combine. They don't find that out to the combine.
They're like, what? Who told you that? They lied. Hey, so I get there, and I'm thinking like, yeah, man, you know, it's gonna be a cakewalk. I get these 2 dudes. I'm talking about. They're both from New York City, 6'11", 6'10", super athletic. Every time I tried to shoot my little turnaround jumper, boom, they were throwing that shit. Hey, listen, but you know, a lesser dude, like I tell people, like a lesser dude would have just tucked his tail and been gone. Me, I went to the gym when they didn't go. I went and worked on my post moves. I went and worked on my ball fakes and all that stuff. Because I knew, like, listen, if you're gonna play and be good, you gotta be able to play against dudes like these dudes. Like you gotta be able to. Like you can't run from me. You can't, like, these are the dudes. Right. So, you know, they made me a lot better, and they're both like my brothers and everything. And you know, hey, people respect it when you start here and you end up there. You know, that's why I love you so much, because I saw where you started and I saw where you ended up. You know what I mean? I saw where you ended up at the beginning of our first year. I saw every year, you know, and that's the key. And that's the kind of thing that I learned at Oak Hill. Hey, listen, I don't have to take a bunch of giant steps, but if I'm taking small ones in the right direction every day, they're going to add up to where I want to be.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking just now. Is that sounds exactly like me with you and JB. You know what I mean? You and JB every day,
Right.
BB up. You know what I mean?
Hey,
Get that
somebody,
weak, get
everybody
that weak
gets
stuff
that from
out there.
somebody.
Yeah, you know what I
Hey,
mean?
everybody gets that from somebody. Hey, I got it too. Like, got it bad. I mean, every day. Hey, listen, then I had to go to the dorm with these dudes and be with them all day. So this thing, when you're like 15, 16, you think you're the man, and these dudes killing you every day. But I got a lot better real quick. You know what I mean? So it was just an adjustment period. And after that, I got it. And it all just worked out.
Yeah, man. Because I mean, you and JB were my big brothers, still are to this day. You know, when I first got to Arizona, and took me under your wing. You know what I'm saying? Like beat me up every single day in practice, but taught me the ropes. You know, taught me how to really compete at a high level. And you know, you need to do that. And I was able to do that. You know, for the younger guys when they came like Michael Wright and
hey, you won the
like
national
that.
championship the next year. So
Yeah,
hey,
exactly right.
listen,
So you got a
it
piece of that,
worked.
man. You know?
It worked perfectly.
So I owe you a little bit there. Is what you're saying.
Hey, it worked perfectly. All right. Hey, listen. Talking about the national championship, dude. I felt like I was on that team because all of y'all were on my team the year before, pretty much, except Mike and Bennett. You know, a couple of the key guys, but. You know, y'all were all so young. I feel like we could have won that year. You know what I mean? It's just a couple of bounces of the ball and things working out. And that's the one thing I can say about you and JT when y'all were young, when y'all were really young. Y'all always really competed. And you did it with a smile on your face. Listen, you didn't win every time. You didn't win half the time. But you every time you kept coming back. You didn't care. You were working on it. You were going to do whatever you had to do to you know, chop the hill down, make it smaller, and then you did it, and you got there, and we're, you know, hey, listen, you're the best, you're the biggest back. Hey, if we're like speaking about winning and everything, you're the best big guy to ever play at Arizona. Nobody else has ever done what you've done. Nobody else ever beat 3 number 1 seeds. Nobody else at Arizona ever won the national championship. Nobody. Hey, and that made our program what we all thought it was. That solidified everything. Hey, without that, you know what I mean? It's still, listen, we're the same as ASU.
Hey, man, that's big praise coming from you, man. That's crazy. I
man,
appreciate
but hey,
that.
listen, sometimes you have to speak fact, and fact has got to be related to winning in basketball. And a lot of times, fact is related to numbers and stuff. And your numbers were really good. Like, you played great. Like, you had a great run. You know, hey, but we're talking about a dude that was there, consistently got better, numbers got better, and you won. Like, won. Like, nobody won like you and JP at that place. Nobody did. You know what I mean? So, hey, like, listen, you just, hey, it is what it is. Numbers don't lie, okay? Hey, we can take what we want to take and say what we want to say, but these things tell the whole story right here. Hey, it's documented. I can watch it on YouTube if I want.
There you go. Hey, man, I appreciate all you contributed to that, man, for real, because you guys taught us that, man. You know what I mean? And that year, the year before, you know what I'm saying, in 95, 96, we should have went to the Final Four that year too, man. And like that was a tough year. I think we started unranked that year and went almost to like number 3 in the country within the first couple of weeks, kind of similar to this year's team where they didn't have nobody was counting on them to do anything, and came out and smacked a couple, you know, big top 10 teams and done their thing this year. You know, talk about that year, man, because that still bugs me, man. We should have been in the Final Four that year, you know, flamed out to Kansas, but
it's like, man, just like you said, you know, I don't know, obviously I won't forever forget that year because it was my senior year. And you know, we started out unranked. Like, we started out unranked, and we played. Y'all remember our first game was against Long Beach State.
Long Beach State.
They were ranked.
Yeah.
They were ranked. We were like, they're ranked? Are you serious? We smashed them. we destroyed them. I think we might have beat them. I think it was at least a 20-point win, something like that. It might have been a little bit more. and then we play Arkansas next. I think we went to Arkansas.
Arkansas.
They were ranked really high. Like they were, because I think they were coming off like Final Four.
Yeah, they were in the national
Final
championship.
Four.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that. Yeah, we beat them. We smashed them at their place. Yeah. And then we went to New York and played Michigan and Georgetown with Allen Iverson. So, and yeah, that was bad.
Hey, that Georgetown game is still one of the my craziest experiences. I mean, that was the first month of my college career, and I'm like, man, I'm in Madison Square Garden. AI, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
I was up there in Albuquerque, New Mexico, about to go.
Yeah, like last year this time I was in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
No, that was a crazy experience, man. That was every year when they show the draft, they show that game because there was so many guys. Just think about all the guys on every team that got drafted. Hey, on our team it was like 12 alone. You know what I mean? From all the years, that got drafted. Almost the entire team got drafted. It seemed like.
That's true.
And and Georgetown had quite a few too. So yeah, that was crazy, man. And then we lost David. That was unfortunate. So everybody, roles kind of had to adjust. People go from playing forward to playing center. Guys that don't play move into the rotation. And listen, I'll tell you hands down, if we had JV, we'd have won the whole thing.
Yeah,
we'd have won the whole thing easily.
Yeah.
Like easily. Like we had Kansas, like we had them. Like we were up with less than a minute.
I know. Still hurts.
Hey, I felt to lose to those dudes. Oh, to lose to the team that I was on.
I know.
The team that I was on. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, but man, I love Arizona. And if I could go to Arizona 1,000 times in a row,
you made the right choice, man. But what was it like? What was it like at Kansas, though? I always Kansas has always been, obviously, it's one of the most historic programs, I'm saying, in the history of basketball. And you were obviously there before you got to AZ. So were there similarities of the programs? What was like kind of the difference? What drew you to both of them, kind of?
Yeah. There are a lot of similarities. I mean, what the top programs are like. They're all the same. It's just small things that separate them. It's coach prefers this. Coach's personality is that. But Roy Williams and Coach Olson are pretty similar. They're both, really they're great coaches. Obviously, Hall of Fame coaches. Obviously, won an incredible amount of games and did all stuff. But the most important thing about them both is they were great, man. Like they were. Hey, Roy Williams is exactly like Coach O was. Like the kind of man Coach O was. He was the same kind of guy. Like door always open. He's gonna treat you like his son. Everything. He's gonna teach you hard lessons, but he's gonna let you know he loves you too. Hey, and I didn't leave Kansas because I didn't like Roy. I didn't leave Kansas because I didn't play. Hey, listen, I played a lot. I started games. I did everything. I just, I don't know what I was doing. Somebody said it's time to go, and I said, hey, okay, let's go. They said there's someplace better for you. You should go out west. I said, okay.
I'm glad you came.
Yeah, me too, man. But back to those guys. Chris Webber, I'll tell you why I left. Because I'm watching the Fab Five. I'm seeing Kawhi Alexander and Junior Burrow at University of Virginia starting every game, shooting all the balls, doing everything. And I'm like, I'm at Kansas. I play 15 minutes a game. I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, Ryan, I started. I'm splitting time with these four dudes. Hey, listen, I'm supposed to be the game all the time. And here, that was what happened. I was like, hey, it's time to get out of here. I went to JUCO. JUCO was actually.
I was going to ask you about that, man, because, Hutch, obviously, you've been, how many, prime time stops you have, but.
I played a lot of good stuff.
I mean, Hutchinson Junior College, one of the most storied programs as well, and you led them to the junior college championship the one year you were there. Yeah. So I know you got some Hutch stories, man. So share some of those with me, man.
Hutch was kind of my reset because I left Kansas. I went to University of Florida for a semester, just one semester. Nobody ever mentions that, but because I left. Because I left Kansas after the first semester of my sophomore year, and I went to University of Florida for the spring semester of my sophomore year, while I was redshirted, so I still wasn't losing any eligibility. And I just really didn't. I like Grant. Hey, Gainesville is a great place. Obviously, the University of Florida is a great place, but it wasn't for me because I didn't like it at all. I didn't like it one bit. And when you don't like a place, obviously some things happen that aren't, naturally the things that would happen. I just didn't like it, and Lon Kruger and I clashed. I had never had a problem with the coach in my life, but I had a couple problems with good old Lon, and and I left. I just didn't like it at all. As soon as I got there, I knew I kind of felt like I made a mistake. It didn't feel like at that time, it wasn't the same as Arizona and Kansas.
Right.
As far as the level of the level of the program and the way they handle things and did things, and that didn't really, I was used to certain stuff and they didn't have it there. I went to Oak Hill for 2.5 years, so I was used to big time basketball. I was obviously used to big time coaching. I was used to good teammates. I was used to all kinds of things that I didn't feel like, not saying they didn't, because they went to the Final Four the year I left. Everywhere I went. Everywhere I left, they went to the Final Four the next year. Every single place. When I left Kansas, they went to the Final Four. When I left Florida, they went to the Final Four. Yeah. I left Arizona, y'all won it.
Contributed to all of those. Put them together, you got like 3/4 of a Final Four.
Yeah, I got so many rings. But then going to Hutch, and I kind of, when I was going through all the stuff at Florida, I kind of took that year off. And I gained a lot of weight, got out of shape. I didn't really, I was kind of like, dang, I can't believe I messed everything up like that. Right. So I was feeling sorry for myself. And then I went to JUCO at Hutch, and with Steve McClain, who was assistant at Georgia, he was the head coach a bunch of places. And Phil, and I remember the first day I was in the dorm at Hutch. I was, unpacking my stuff. I was like, Coach Johnson called me from Arizona. Yep. Coach Johnson called. I can still hear. He's like, yeah, Coach Olson called me, told me to call you. Hey, listen, that day on the phone, I told Coach Johnson I was coming.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm coming. I was like, I'm coming. I was like, hey, man, I just in Kansas. I'm probably going to take a couple visits, all right? I'm like, because I just want to get out of here for a couple weeks. But I ended up taking one visit. I visited Nebraska. Nebraska is the only place I visited besides Arizona when I left JUCO. And JUCO was incredible, man. I had incredible teammates. They worked so hard. I got there, I weighed 305. By the first game, I weighed 250. Like I lost like 55 pounds in like 2 months. Yeah, it was crazy. And that wasn't like he was running me and trying to kill me. We just worked really hard. And I'm willing to put everything I have that no JUCO team ever would be my JUCO team. Like that, none, never, none. With me and Roy Harrison, we had incredible. We had this guy Craig Dorkson. He went to Northwestern. We had our point guard, this guy John Sweet. He played at Cal State Bakersfield. I mean, we had a great team, and we were in what's arguably the best junior college conference in the country. And Jayhawk and Kansas with Barton County, Butler, Garden City, all these. And we won the conference and all that stuff. And I was junior college player of the year. I was the Jayhawk conference player of the year. Me and my guy Roy Harrison, we split all that stuff. And it was great. That was a great experience, man. I needed that. And everybody would always say, we can't believe you left KU and Florida and came here, you're riding the bus with us, and you don't ever complain. Hey, AJ, you know me, I never complain anyway.
No, never. That
doesn't bother me. Hey, listen, everybody else is riding the bus. Why would I be complaining about riding? I just wasn't like that. And so it wasn't like people were like, yeah, you went to JUCO and got humbled. No, I didn't. JUCO was just a step in a part of my path. Because I knew where I was going. I knew that I was going to NBA from the day that I left home to go to Oak Hill. Seriously, I remember when I met Coach Smith at Oak Hill. When he picked me up from the airport, he told me, I'm going to make you one promise. If you do the things I asked you to do, all the stuff you want to do is going to happen.
Yeah.
And it did. and I was blessed with that kind of man my entire career. Him, to Roy Williams, hey, even Lon Kruger. Lon Kruger is a great coach. He's a great man. Obviously, it just didn't work out with me. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
don't want people to get the wrong idea and think, oh, he hates Lon Kruger. He's got to know I don't. And what Lon Kruger's done speaks for itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can think what I want to think about Lon. Hey, Lon's pretty good, okay?
That record, that's right.
Yeah, Lon's stuff is documented. You know what I mean? And it was an incredible journey, man. Everything and just getting to play with and like, dude, you're my brother. Like, I love you, man. Thank you so happy just to see your face out here. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and and I always tell people it was all a blessing. But I got to see every part of the country. I got to play in so many great games. But the most important thing was like dudes like you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like on all my teams, you know me, I'm easy to get along with. Like, you know what I mean? I look like I don't want to talk, but I'm talking all the time.
It's just that face, though, man. You know what I mean? But you're one of the most caring dudes around, man. Really, like, you helped me unbelievably, in my career, man. All in many facets of my life. So I appreciate you, man. You already know that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way about you, man.
So, at AZ, we talked about you talked about a little bit earlier, but the man who brought all of us together, and all of us were good, I feel like good dudes, man. He did good people. Coach O, and like just talk a little bit more in a little bit more detail about your relationship with Coach, how it was over the years. All of us kind of have a different relationship with him, but similarities are in there too. So, I like to get everybody's perspective when they come on and talk a little bit about Coach.
Oh man, Coach is just, hey, listen, when I got to Arizona, I had, we just talked about everything, and I got there and I needed credibility, attached to everything I had done. I needed somebody to make all my stuff legitimate. You know what I mean? Because, hey, listen, when you take that long a trip and go around all those curves, you get dirt on you. You know what I mean? And hey, listen, you can't deny what's fact. And I got to him, and we always had I have a it's gonna make me cry, man, but I have a tremendous respect and love for Coach Olson. Like nobody ever, I never had a coach that I talked to about the things I talked to him about. Not things that I had to bring up. Like he talked to me about tough stuff. He always told me that he's like, oh, your entire career, like all this stuff, you got a problem handling success. He was like, so what are you gonna do? He was like, when things start going good, like, you sabotage. He was like, so while you're here, just stay out of your way. You know me, stay out of your way. And and just listen and enjoy your teammates and enjoy guys. That's what he made me, I always did that. And I was always a good teammate and cared, but he made it all right for me to, put my fingerprints on the program to be myself and to, and to grow. And that was the thing with him. And he did it for you, man. Like every year when you came in, he didn't treat you the same way he treated you last year. Because you grew a little bit. He knew you grew a little bit. He was gonna treat, and if you hadn't, he was gonna help you grow a little bit. And he was gonna bring you up to where you needed to be. And it's just like I couldn't imagine. I don't know if Coach Johnson had called me that first day at Hutch. I don't know. Like I really couldn't. I could not imagine another scenario, another path, or me being with anybody else but Coach Olson. And we didn't always agree. That. Like we didn't always. He didn't make you eat it. Like he didn't make you like, hey, listen, this is what I said. You gotta take this. He didn't.
He talked to you about it.
Yeah, he did, but he didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't talk to you, and by the time we got to talk to you were
like he was right. He was right.
You're like, okay, coach, all right, you got it. And but at the same time, he was letting you say, hey, you came to that decision. He didn't He didn't push you to it. He didn't, nobody forced you in a corner or made you do some things you didn't want to do. And that was one of the things, I remember when I met him, he was like, we're going to have two real serious team things. Just don't disrespect yourself and don't disrespect the team. And if you don't disrespect yourself and you don't disrespect the team, everything else is going to take care of itself. And it did. And, I got so many stories. I remember after my senior year, it was like we're going through the desert classic, going through all the pre-draft stuff, and you remember everybody's getting invited. I didn't get invited to Chicago right away.
That's crazy. What is that? That's crazy.
Yeah. Hey, I didn't get invited to Chicago right away. So I called Coach Olson. I'm like, hey, Coach, I didn't get invited to Chicago. He's like, what, are you crazy? He's like, what happened? Who did it? And he's like, give me an hour. He called me back in an hour. He's like, you're going to Chicago. They'll call you on the loose. Yeah. And it was just so many things like that. I think he kind of taught us all how to be cool. You know what I mean? Because we are always watching him. He wasn't getting flustered. He wasn't getting crazy. He wasn't running around yelling and jumping up and down with his, ripping his jacket off. Hey, listen, obviously he got heated and he was just like every other coach. And obviously he was ultra competitive and all that stuff and super demanding and all that stuff. But he was a real human being more than anything. And that's the thing that I always took his humility, how humble he was all the time, how he talked to everybody. Like he could be walking down the hall, he talked to them, he looked like a movie star, but he never big timed anybody. Like
that's right.
I never saw him do anything like that. And that was probably one of the things that I was drawn to. And I remember watching Arizona games when I was in 8th grade. And I wanted to go to Arizona because I wanted to play for him.
Yep.
And and that was probably the beginning of my entire journey with all the transfers, because at the time, like Jesse came to Oak Hill to see me. We're setting up the visit because they were recruiting me and Corey Alexander. We were both supposed to visit together. My mom told me I couldn't visit because they didn't have Martin Luther King's birthday as a state holiday in Arizona. Yeah.
Coach
Arizona.
Yeah,
they wore the MLK patches on
that's exactly right.
uniforms until they got it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and then, so it kind of worked out. As soon as they got it, I came back.
You're just taking a little detour until then, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I had to kill some time until they catch up.
Yeah, Coach, just special, man. He's just special, man.
Yeah.
He just impacted us so much.
I didn't realize how special he was when I was right there with him every day. But when I left, I like, you appreciate it. And obviously, now that he's gone, we obviously appreciate it and think about all the great stuff and a lot of the great stuff that he was trying to teach us and tell us. It's easier to see now, that I'm 49 than not 19 or 21. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, hey, listen, I can talk about him all day. It's just, it's so many things. It's incredible. I was blessed to have the coaches I had. But the biggest blessing I've had is Lute Olson. I say Steve Smith and Lute Olson as far as coaches, because they both came at, Steve Smith was obviously at the beginning of my journey when I left home. I was 15. I hadn't ever left home, hadn't ever been on a plane, hadn't ever done anything. I went to Oak Hill. I just trusted him, and I did the things he asked me to do, and it worked out. And when I got to Coach Olson after leaving JUCO, I was at a point where, this is like the door to your dreams. Or are you gonna, do something else and not get there? So, and hey, listen, he opened the gate for me. You know what I mean? It was like, hey, listen, you're gonna do it whether you want to do it or not. And it's just great. It's just incredible, man, to be a part of his legacy and just to be a part of a family that includes guys like you and all the incredible players. And most of all those guys. My Arizona brothers, all those are like the best guys that I've ever been around in my life. Like, I don't mean basketball players. I'm talking about fathers, friends, brothers, sons, just guys, just real guys, just real people that care about people.
Yeah, man. I mean, I feel the same way, brother. So, coach is just, amazing for all of us and really set just a huge, the highest standard that possible, really, of how you should operate as a man, as an athlete, and like you said, as a father, all of the things that he taught us translated directly into us being successful people in the world, not on a basketball court. I mean, we were obviously
Yeah,
successful in basketball, but in the world and functioning as a good human being, you taught us so many of those things that you just are invaluable, and that now we're passing down to our little ones. You know what I mean? You've done that
exactly.
with your daughter and son, and now your new son, and it's going to be fun to watch him develop as well. And then,
Yeah.
um, yeah, but have you had so now we're into a new era. We had when Tommy Lloyd was hired. Some of us were a little bit upset about that at first, and we wanted some of our guys to be interviewed and stuff like that. But
That's natural. That's natural, though.
and it's natural. We
That's
should have been
natural.
that way. In my opinion, we should have been that way. But the
Yeah.
way that the team is playing, and I don't know if you've seen them play a whole bunch this year. I've
Oh, yeah,
watched.
I tell you every game.
I've watched every game. I mean, these dudes play the way that we want to see them play, man. And they play
Oh,
free. He's got them having fun out there. They're throwing lobs. You know what I mean? They're locking up on the defensive end. What do you thought about the style of basketball that they've been playing this year? What's the ceiling for them? What do you think about the team this year?
hey, listen, I love Tommy Lloyd, okay? Hey, listen, I wanted Damon, I wanted Miles, I wanted JP, I wanted all those guys. Hey, listen, and if they have another opportunity, I want them, okay?
Right.
But what we got is great. Like I really like the way they're playing. I like the way the kids are bought in. And listen, we can't just like completely act like Sean didn't leave him with like one of the best teams in the country. Like Sean did a great job. Like Sean didn't leave the cover bare, all right?
Right.
Like, cause they got some incredible pieces to work with. And with that being said, what they're doing with those pieces is extremely impressive. Like, hey, listen, I've been impressed with their effort. I've been impressed with the way they play together. And the main thing I love is that he's not like trying to small. He's not trying to play small. And it's
Yeah.
still basketball. The tall guys win. You know what I mean? And I just like that a lot. And I'll tell you another thing that I really like and that's really kind of close to my heart. He's got Steve Robinson on the staff. Steve Robinson was the one that recruited me to go to Kansas. He
Okay.
recruited me from Oak Hill, got me to go to Kansas, and me and him are really close. We got a good relationship. We talked when he got there, and and I feel like Coach Lloyd is gonna do a great job. I feel like he's gonna be there a long time. Listen, we're waiting for one of our guys to get there. I think they're going. Listen, they might be done by the time hey, listen, because the way he started, hey, we couldn't ask for a better start. You know what I mean? And I think I obviously, you and I both know what the bench looks like, what the guys on the floor look like when they're having a good time and they're enjoying it, and everybody's bought in. And that's what you see when you see them play.
Yeah, man. I mean, I feel the same way. It's like I'm feeling joy when I watch him play. You know what I'm saying? That's the same way that we used to feel.
Giddy.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm
Hey,
Yeah, man, but it's it'll be a good ride for him this season. They took a tough one at Tennessee, which was to be fought against a couple of different things in that game that we're not going to talk about too much, but they're tough.
Hey, but they didn't play bumps. Like you know what I mean? Like they played a good team. They played a good, well-coached team with like they got like a 6-year point guard that's a good player. Yep. You know what I mean? They got a good coach. Like they didn't, hey, listen, you gotta take one that's okay when they take. And they had him. And they had him. And they didn't play well. So I didn't feel bad about that loss. I didn't feel bad at all. I if anything, I was encouraged because they didn't really play well.
Right.
And we played an SEC team that's a top 10, top 15 team that, that we had on the ropes. Like, how many we lose by? Was it 3 or 2?
4, yeah, 4 points. Yeah.
4-point game on the road in the SEC. You know what I mean? Like, all right, I'm sure if he would have told them that, they would have told them they were going to be 11-1 or whatever we are right now. I can't remember the exact record. Right now, if they would have told them that 6 months ago, they'd be like, okay, we'll take it. Let's do it right now.
That's right. Well, B, man, hey, listen, I appreciate your time today, my man. Look, we got to do this again For sure. I'm gonna have you back in. There's a lot more we could cover, a lot more we could talk about. I know you got the little one back there, so I'm gonna let you get to your daddy duties. But hey, man, I love you, man. You know that.
I love you too, brother.
Always, brother. And we're gonna get together soon, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, and get everyone together, have a good time, reminisce, man. So I need that. So it'll be good, man. We'll get that going pretty soon.
Thanks for having me, man. I had a great time.
For sure, man. Anytime, man. I'll talk to you soon, my brother.
All right, brother. Happy holidays.
All right, thanks a lot, man.
All right.